and it looks like there's reverse, there's first, there's third, and there's fourth. Well, hello there, and welcome back to Easy Simple Mechanic. This is Ray, and today we're going to get back on the 1929 Ford Model A. It's been a while since we actually worked on this for several reasons. We had a couple other projects to try and get caught up on, and also there were some parts that I needed to order to continue on some of the rebuild. So today, let me go over where we left off and some of the things that we're going to work on today. So let's get started on that. Okay, so as you recall, we got the engine running just to prove that it ran and everything. We went ahead and we put the body on top of the frame. We didn't bolt it down completely yet because I believe I need to get that front fender over there on before I go ahead and get this body bolted down. Also, it'll be easier to get this back bumpers on and stuff. If I'd have known that, I'd have done that before I put the body on, just so you guys know. So I've already found the pieces, kind of lined them out here on how to get the bumper brackets there on. And you know, I don't have them bolted down, but I have them sitting in there, and they kind of go up in over the frame there, and then they kind of bolt onto the body back here. And so we gotta get that on, but I don't want to do that until I get that bolted down, and then we can go from there. The other thing is I found these bumpers ends and this trunk carrier that we need to put on the back. Like I said, on this side, we need to get the front fender on, get the step on it, and get these back fenders put on it back here. So the other thing, and what I ordered was, as you guys remember, we had the stick shift off of the transmission so that it would make it easier to get this body on. But one of the things that I couldn't do was to put that back on because the shifter, as you can see, is really rusted and old. And then the emergency brake lever, being this old thing here, was all rusted out and old as well. So I did order a new one because it also wasn't working. The little pin on it was broken already, and so I ordered a brand new one from Max Antique. So no sponsorship or anything, but anyway, if they see this, maybe they'll start sponsoring some parts. But anyways, I did buy this this shifter on here for that. And then what I had to buy was a special tool to disassemble the housing to get the shifter off. It has this really stiff spring on it, and I went ahead and disassembled this one just so I could get it out. And the reason I have to swap this is because this car, 1929, came with this shifter lever on the front side. It bolts on right here on the front of this housing. Now, apparently, we had found one for it here that was pretty nice and looked fairly new, and the shifter nice and chromed. But the deal is it doesn't have the mounting on the front of the housing for the emergency brake lever. So we could have installed it, but then I would have to modify the holes in the floorboard and everything to accommodate the other shifter, and I would have to remake all of that stuff. So instead of doing that, what I've done is I've ordered this tool to spring compressor to be able to remove the shifter and all of the stuff from that one. And then I'm gonna disassemble this one and put the parts from this one onto the old one there, and then put it back in the car. But I wanted to leave this one before disassembling to kind of show you how it comes apart and how it goes back together. So that's what we're going to try and get done today. So let's get with it and see if we can get some of this done. Temporarily, I set this vise right here on the table. It's not bolted down, so this kind of makes it challenging, but oh well, I need to get me a real shop one of these days. Anyway, the first thing that needs to come out is this little pin right here. It's on the side here that holds these rods that go through the shift forks. And so we got to pull that one off and try and get the little sliding pieces that are in here out of there. And/or you can do that first, or you can knock out these little roll pins out. There's two of them. There's one here and there's one over here. Let me see, you can see them. Yeah, there's one there and there's one there. So if we knock those out so that these will be free, and then we'll take that screw off of there, try and get that out. Then what we'll do is we'll try and slide out these rods out of the back. Now this one here looks like it has maybe a little rust or something. I'm going to have to polish that and lubricate that to try and get them to come out. And then once we get those out, we get these two little shift forks out, then we'll have that open so that then we can get to that clip and that spring that is below them. So let me work on that. That was easy enough. What I did have to do is I did have to make myself a little punch out of an Allen wrench that I had there that fit that perfect, and get a bigger hammer to get that. But as you saw, I used this. Once I had those pins out, I used this to put in there to help me use the forks to push those slides out. Now there is a little deal right inside there, spring, that puts pressure on those two rods so that they don't shift together. You can only shift one at a time. So you have to slide that out of there, and it comes out the side where we took that screw out. And you'll see that in a minute here. Okay, see out the side, that little thing comes out of there. Okay, looks like it had plenty of assembly lube. Problem is this thing it probably had been redone, and it sat around and got some rust and crust on it, but there's one more in there, and I don't know how we get that one out. We'll just let me see if I can get a little curved deal in there. So I'll stick this little pin in there and see if I can't push it out as far as I can and try to pull it with this other one. Yeah, there we go. I think we're getting it. Okay. Now then I'll just use my screwdriver and stick in there, and we'll slide that out, and then we'll just pull it out. Okay, so this is what goes in between those two rods there. Okay, now, and so now this is the tricky part, because we've got to, I don't know if you can see that. Let me see. See here, you can see that there's a little clip here, a spring retainer that holds that in there. Well, that spring below that shifter is really, really stiff. So the idea is to try and get that spring compressed, leaving this clip loose where we can pull it out. And I struggled a little bit with it on the other one, but we'll see if we can't get that done. We went ahead and used the tool on the spring. This spring is a really stout spring. As you saw, I was struggling with that a little bit to get that lined up, especially with this tool here. As you can see, it's not the best tool in the toolbox. It didn't stand up to that spring very good. I guess I need a stiffer one of these things. But you got to be careful because this is a really stiff spring. If that thing pops, it could hurt you. So make sure you take those precautions. So the setup going back, I'm gonna go a little different. I'm just gonna hold the shifter in the vise so it doesn't slide down on me. Then we're gonna go ahead and put the housing on the shifter. So we'll just slide that on there like that. And this will be flopping around, but that's okay, because what we need to do here is we need to try and get that spring installed there. So we're gonna go with that setup, and then we're going to install this spring. Putting that on was a lot easier than taking it off, but hey, we got it on there. So now I guess I'm gonna clean up those parts and I'll get these installed. Now these got some rust on them, so I'm probably gonna clean these up before I put them back on, and then we'll put those on there and see how that works out. Okay, now that we have our parts kind of cleaned up here, we're just going to go ahead and assemble them. Want to make sure everything is clean, and we'll just put a little bit of grease on it here, just to make sure it lubricates. It should, with that 90 weight, it should all just kind of dissolve together at one point. These forks don't really care about which one goes where. They're both the same. What does matter is these two, and I almost put that in the wrong place, but they really should go. It's got a groove here on top, and that groove should go to the top where looking at you, and then the little notches towards the little retainer here. So this one goes on this side, so we'll just put that one there. And we'll go ahead and loop this one up. And this is the one that's got to go on this side. Got that lubricated. See, that groove is up. Then this is going to ride on this little knob here. So we want to put that one on this side. Okay, we won't put the pin in yet until I get the other one on. So I had this one already lubricated. But before we forget, let's not forget, we have our little spring thing right here. And let's just make sure this is lubricated well, because this doesn't ever get lubricated again. So we'll just get some grease on that guy. We'll stick the other one on this side. And of course that little pin in there is going to keep it from sliding in, so you have to push in on that pin to get that to go. So we'll just just till we get it started. And once we get it in there, and we'll get our other fork. Right there. And we have our roll pin here. So we'll just take that. There we are. So it should work correctly. Okay, so we put this shaft through the back side here. Then this thing just sits on there, and then we'll just, there you go. Now we can get this, see that goes inside a groove there, otherwise that bolt won't go through there. And you have to make sure that does that. That goes all the way in there. Then you have a nut that goes on the back side. So you tighten that till you see the cotter pin hole. Okay, so you push this, release. This is to pull the emergency brake. You can see the lever here turns with that. So there we are, our new shifter with our new emergency brake handle. Right there. Now we'll put it on the car. So what I try to do is I try to line up these shift forks to where they sit in there with the transmission in neutral, and slide the forks in from one side to the other to make sure they go in there just like that. And then we'll just put the bolts down. So this is what it looks like now with the floor laid in there. Of course, it's not screwed down yet, but that's the wood floor that lays underneath. And here's the shifter, nice chrome brake lever, and a nice chrome shifter knob. And it looks like there's reverse, there's first, there's third, and there's fourth. So now we don't have to be messing with those gears in there when we need to roll the car around or move it around. We can put it into the neutral easy to get it to roll. Well, folks, and I guess that's gonna do it for today. Thank you. Please like, share, subscribe. Hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed this content, and we'll see you guys on the next one.